Hi everyone, Salam alaikum. My name is Ali Khan, and after watching this short video you'll know more about what Caucasian dagger is and why you should not draw it from its sheath, from its scabbard without a proper reason. First of all, I'd like to clarify one common mistake when people often refer to the Caucasian dagger as a Cossack dagger. Why does it happen? Well, in the Russian Imperial Army there were some irregular units called Cossacks. Cossacks were recruited from a particular class of Russian pre-revolutionary society. They were settled near the Caucasians to guard the empire's border in some cases, but more often to seize lands where other people lived. And over time they adopted the local customs, some local customs, traditional dress and weaponry of Caucasian people. Since the Cossacks were involved in European wars as a part of Russian army, alongside the Russian army, they interacted with various other nations, and for this reason many European and American sources mistakenly refer to the Caucasian dagger as a Cossack dagger. But this is definitely a mistake, because this type of weapon with its distinctive shape and other features is here in the mountains of the North Caucasus. One more point to mention, it's a small remark. When we talk about Caucasians or Caucasian in this context, we are talking about it in terms of country, in terms of location, in terms of culture, but not in terms of race, of course. So let's dive into details. Today we have three examples, three items to review, but before I get into the details, let me explain what a Caucasian dagger really is in general. You need to understand that the Kama dagger, Kama, how we call it here in Caucasus, was not a battlefield weapon. During military campaigns at the battlefield, Caucasians used to use another type of weapon called, you might know, shashka, you might know this name, with a long curved sword similar to saber. And in cases of military campaigns, dagger was used as auxiliary weapon. As I said, the dagger was a personal weapon for a man to wear on its belt every day. No one free man in Caucasus would leave his house without this weapon. It was used for self-defense, to protect one's family, to resolve some matters of honor. That's why its size, its shape and functions are as they are. The dagger is typically about 50 centimeters in length. It's a double-edged blade with a diamond-shaped cross-section. The handle is usually made of bone, made of horn, sometimes made of wood, silver. Let's start our review with this small piece. This dagger was made in Ossetia. Most likely it was made in Ossetia at the end of the 19th century. It was made for a child. The child would not have used it for a combat, of course. It was made mostly to wear in some ceremonial moments. Probably it was a child from a prosperous family, because not every family of mountaineers could afford themselves such piece. Even though it's a child dagger, it was crafted with the same precise and the same technique as a full-sized adult item. What really drew my eye here is the unusual technique. Both the scabbard and the handle are wrapped with a sheet of iron with silver inlaid in traditional floral pattern. Even though I've come across with daggers much more luxurious, covered with silver, with gold, with ivory, this combination of simple iron touched with rust and silver strikes me a lot. I've only seen two examples of this kind of craftsmanship. This is one of them. And this discrete beauty, I consider it to be a truly impressive artwork. The next piece I'd like to talk about is this dagger. It was made in Dagestan. What is interesting here? This item is completely in original condition, like the first one. The craftsmanship here is a combination of several different techniques. For example, the handle was made of bone. It's assembled from few bone parts, engraved with the traditional floral pattern and inlaid with brass. This delicate inlay was a footprint of Dagestani masters. The metal parts are crafted from iron with brass inlaid in traditional Dagger patterns. On the flip side, we can see a small utility knife which was used for everyday tasks such as cutting food or other small jobs. As we know, using dagger at the table at the dinner was not allowed for a person, and even this tiny detail was made very meticulous. The blade is also very impressive. I would say this is one of the most beautiful blades I've ever held in my hands. It was made in the village of Amuzgi in Dagestan. Here you can see the hallmark of the master. In Arabic script, his name was Haji Kurban. It was a well-known master. The blade has two fallers, which both strengthen and lighten the blade and giving its graceful look. To wrap up, this is a very interesting piece with several techniques used. The dagger is 100% in original condition, and even the leather, which often deteriorates and get replaced on antique items, has been preserved. This is quite rare. A common question sometimes arises whether there is any distinctive feature that allows one to determine in which region of Caucasus a dagger was made. I'd rather say no. There is no single distinctive feature. However, when one's eye becomes accustomed to different types of daggers, it becomes possible to make a general assumption about where the dagger was most likely made. Sometimes there is a chance that a blade, for example, was made in one place and handle and scabbard assembled elsewhere, which was a common practice. So we cannot exactly say where the dagger was made, but for example, at this example, we can make an overall conclusion that it was made with techniques and style of the masters of central Dagestan. The last dagger I'd like to show you is also from Ossetia. It was most likely made in Ossetia. It's quite simple in its design, a classic black dagger with bone handle. The blade is plain, without fallers or without master's hallmark, without any other features, but it has a fascinating history. It was made in the mid or second part of 18th century and belonged to a man. His name was Eba Keshate. It was a rather well-known figure in Ossetian history. This dagger has been kept in the same family for all these centuries, and aside from restored scabbard, it's completely original. So what does make it rare? You see, the Caucasus has passed through a lot in previous centuries. There were endless wars, failed raids. After Russian Caucasian War, a huge amount of people were forced to leave their homeland. Entire villages were demolished. Later came the Russian Revolution. After civil war, repressions, famine of the 1913s. And if we take all this previous history into account, it becomes clear why so few items have been preserved by the owners, by the families of the owners for more than 100 years, not being lost or sold. In my own family's history, for example, all of our modest family treasures, including my great-grandfather's dagger and shashka, were traded by himself for wheat during the famine of the 1913s. So the fact that this dagger has remained in its original condition in the family of the first owner for about almost 300 years. It's quite remarkable. Caucasian weapons are a vast topic with countless techniques and regions where they were made. Most of them were crafted by hand, not in industrial factories. That's why we see a great variety of techniques, and even within the same workshop, two masters might craft their items completely in two different ways. I've selected a few examples that I found interesting to give you an idea what a Caucasian dagger is all about. Finally, let's go back to our initial question: why you should not draw a dagger without a proper reason. Some of you might already know the answer. If you are familiar with Caucasian culture, there is a well-known proverb which tells us that you should not draw a dagger unless you are going to use it. And if it's been drawn, it means it must be used in any case. This highlights an idea that the dagger isn't meant to show, isn't meant to threaten or to boost self-confidence. It's a weapon with exact purpose, and you need to consider a lot before you grab the handle. This is the profound meaning of this proverb. That is all from me. If you found this video useful, feel free to hit some buttons below to share it with your friends. And in that case, more people will watch this video with you. Take care, strive for justice. Salam alaikum.